Hi, I'm Candace.
And I'm Ripley.
And this is Comicsplaining.
The show where I'm going to turn you into the Palace Owners Association.
Uh-huh. For what?
For letting your hedges grow too high.
Damn it.
We were discussing over dinner about how you can get palaces or castles over in Europe for relatively cheap, which is wild to us because in America we do not have palaces or castles. And that shit's just there.
And also, we cannot get housing for cheap.
Yeah. So we're just sitting there like, wow, what a fantasy. Own a palace. And then we're like, well, we would really need more useful friends. Friends with useful skills. Useful friends sounds really mean. If we had friends that were like carpenters and shit, that'd be great. Because you gotta restore this palace. And then we were talking about, it's like, well, what if it's, like, historic houses? Because, like, here, for people who aren't American, which I don't think we have all that many non-American listeners. We don't have all that many listeners to begin with, but I think we mostly have U.S. listeners.
I don't know.
If you buy a historic house, like, my grandparents live right by Romeo, Michigan, and right down the main drag of Romeo, there are all these historic houses with, like, widow's walks and all that shit that I always thought was really horror aesthetic, really cool, and I was into. But you gotta paint them, like, certain colors and keep them restored to certain forms. You can't, like, make it your own. So I'm sitting here wondering, like, is there shit like that for palaces? Like, you could buy this palace for super cheap, but then they're like, you can't grow ivy all over the side of your palace.
You can install solar panels.
That's really what we were talking about, the solar panels, trying to figure out how do we get around the Palace Owners Association. That
we made up.
That we definitely made up. And this all came up because of fucking golf. But anyway. Because it came from Scotland. They're like castles and shit over there.
Mm-hmm.
Still wild to me as an American.
I know.
Anyway, what have we got today? We have our own Asgardian royal bullshit to get up to.
We do. We're gonna be reading Thor.
Wow, sure. Shocking.
Yeah, I know.
Which one is it?
It's this one.
Wow. That's very helpful for our listeners who can't see the screen.
I know. It's Thor number 152 from May of 1968.
Is it from May?
No, it's from March of 1968. I always mix that up. It was written by Stan Lee, art by Jack Kirby, inked by Vince Colletta, and lettered by Sam Rosen.
Well, I'm going to throw in a fun fact about one of those people, because I know a fun fact. We've been telling Stan Lee fun facts all along, so we don't need a fun fact for Stan.
Okay.
But Jack Kirby, apparently, he was back there during the ye old golden age of comics, writing Captain America shit even back then, or drawing Captain America, I don't know. He was the Captain America shit guy, drawing the Captain America shit guy. Well, I guess there were Nazis or American Nazis, all that bullshit, even back then, about they were going to come to the Marvel office or Timely office or whatever and beat his ass. And he's like, all right, I'm coming down, motherfuckers. And they'd cleared out by then.
Oh, I love that story. I've heard it before. It's so good.
That's my favorite story. It's one of my favorite things. King Kirby, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's some king shit.
You dropped your crown, king. So, Ripley, what happened last time?
Oh, God. I don't remember what Thor was doing. I remember that Sif and Balder went out to Karnilla. I think Thor was in some kind of bullshit trouble because of... Oh, the Destroyer. Wait, what? That can't be right. The Destroyer was there, but I also distinctly remember Sif.
Who was there before the Destroyer?
Before the Destroyer, the Wrecker...
There you go.
...was wrecking some shit. And so Sif and oh, that's right. Sif and Balder had headed out to find some bullshit to help Thor because Thor was in a mighty heap of trouble because he didn't have his powers.
They were hunting down Loki because Loki was up to shit.
Right, Loki was up to shit. Loki stole the orb. Loki stole the orb.
Yes.
God, I'm having a hard time this week. Loki stole the orb and ran off to hang out with Carnilla, who, I might add, on the cover here is looking fabulous with the drip dry yellow purple cape. But so they headed out there, and Sif and Baldur got captured immediately because, of course, they fucking did. But Sif even more immediately. Mm-hmm. And so she was watching this shit, Thor getting his ass beat by the Wrecker, and she was like, Carnilla was like, I've got a deal for you. If you take my deal, I will let you go help your man Candy. And so Sif possessed the Destroyer. And then midway through the fight with the Destroyer, Odin was like, yeah, okay, I was just testing because my son hasn't been as humble as he should be, which was some fucking bullshit.
Fucking win.
Right, fucking win. And so he gave Thor back his powers, but Sif was in the Destroyer, and Sif was trapped in the Destroyer. And I think we might have actually left Sif still trapped in the Destroyer. I'm not 100% sure. But Baldur was also there, captured, like I had mentioned earlier.
With Carnilla.
Yes, and Carnilla was like, ooh, you're a sexy little hunk of man-meat. Maybe if you stay here, I'll be on my best behavior. And Baldur was like, nah.
Nah, though.
And then some trolls came up, along with Ulik of the Metal Pounder fame.
Yes.
And he was like, ha, we're gonna kill you. And Baldur was like, will you let me out to beat this fool and defend your stupid ass, you dumb fucks? Because you're not gonna get physical, you're gonna get your fucking asses beat.
Well, Carnilla tried to use a spell and it didn't work.
Oh, right, because the troll mage or whatever cast some anti-magic magic.
Yes.
Right, yeah. I had a hard time with remembering last week's, even though it wasn't all that bad. Mm-hmm. Or last 2 weeks. Anyway, yeah, that's what I remember. I don't know what Thor's been up to on Earth since that. I guess still beating the Destroyer with poor Sif trapped a passenger.
Yep. Nope, you pretty much got it.
With heavy prodding.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, you got it in the end. That's all that matters. So, I guess to kind of summarize that in a more clear and concise way. Thor, trapped on Earth, no powers. Loki steals the rock. Sorry, the viewing crystal. Loki steals the viewing crystal so that Odin can't see what's going on. Baldur and Sif go to the Norn Forest to find Loki. They end up getting captured.
I forgot, Odin got a new TV somewhere in this.
Odin got a new crystal ball. One of his wizards made it. Sif got put in the Destroyer. Baldur was shirtless. And had to fight Ulik. And Thor is fighting the Destroyer, which has Sif trapped in it. And Thor has his powers back now.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember if I mentioned the power thing. I think I did.
You alluded to it.
Yeah, I didn't actually fully get there. You're right.
Okay. So let's get into this issue.
Alright, let's get into the meat. Oh. I don't like that panel. Thor's cape is doing some bullshit.
The meat,
The dilemma of Dr. Blake, oh, I guess he can turn back to Don now.
Yeah, he's got his powers back.
Yeah.
Thor acts fast, surging forward to keep the Destroyer on guard so it can't use its deadly disintegrator beams. If you remember last time, Thor trapped himself in a tiny blind alley.
Yeah, I do remember that, and also a note that we didn't make is that Sif, while trapped in the Destroyer, is no longer in control of the Destroyer.
Yes, that is true.
The Destroyer is just kind of taken its own wind in its sails.
It's destroying.
Yeah, it's doing its thing.
He laments, however, that the Destroyer is an unfeeling machine and can therefore not be quickly defeated.
Okay, hang on though. Why does the Destroyer have implied briefs? Like, why doesn't he just have metal bands continuing over his ass? Like he should?
I don't know.
Odin, what the fuck was up with that one? Why did you make him have metal underpants?
I mean...
It seems unnecessary. Frankly, he don't have junk.
That is Jack Kirby's staple that we've identified before, though.
That's true. He does like his wrestler briefs.
That's true. Even Mjolnir's enchanted might can only stagger the destroyer briefly. The destroyer lofts the great hammer and chucks it back at Thor.
Destroyer looks way less cool than last time we saw the destroyer.
The destroyer looks very, very not cool in old comics. Its head is very round. It looks kind of dumb.
I feel like it looked cooler last time.
I don't think so.
But this doesn't look good.
Thor states here that due to its enchantments, Mjolnir will never strike its owner. I don't remember that being part of the deal.
No, that's new. That's new Thor lore.
That is the Thor lore.
Thorlorn.
Then again...
Up to this point we've been Thorlorn, but now we've been enlightened.
I don't know how many people have tried to hit Thor with his own hammer before.
There's not been many people who've been capable of hitting Thor with his own hammer.
So I'm not sure it's ever come up before this.
New Thor lore.
Once again, the destroyer's visor begins to lower in preparation for its disintegrator beam, and Thor tenses to strike before it can complete the activation.
He's gonna pick up a chunk of sidewalk and beat the motherfucker with it.
Before he can do anything, though, the destroyer suddenly topples to the ground, once again an empty shell.
Oh.
Thor understands what has happened, but not why. He has to head back to Asgard to learn that. Speaking of which, Odin observes this scene through his new viewing crystal, taking a moment to helpfully explain that he had nothing to do with stopping the destroyer. He explains for us yet again that the life force that had been propelling it has been withdrawn. The wizard dude from earlier asks who could have tampered with it in the first place, and Odin says Baldur and Sif are in the Norn Forest, so that obviously had something to do with it.
This is a relatively restrained look for Odin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still got like 4 different colors going on, but
his shoulder pads are kind of intense.
His hat, though, is relatively restrained for him.
It is, definitely.
Okay.
Indeed, it was Karnilla who pulled Sif's mind away from the destroyer at the direction of Baldur, who is now fully clothed and ready to take on Ulik.
It's nice that Ulik waited for him. It's like, you ever watch Star Wars when the Jedi just shrug off their robe, and it's like, it's really cool of you, Darth Maul, to respect the whole...
pageantry.
The pageantry. That wasn't the ritual of it.
I think pageantry works, too.
They both work.
However, if you'll notice, it seems that some strange equivalent exchange has happened here, because Ulik is now wearing far less clothes than he was before. Apparently, Ulik has heard of Baldur, but doesn't think much of his fabled courage. He should probably care that Baldur is functionally invincible, but Stan seems to drop that on the reg as if it's not his most identifiable feature, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Well, I think Ulik's gonna learn a few things, personally. I'm betting on Baldur. That's all I'm saying.
Ulik says that who he really wants is Thor, and Baldur is just the aperitif to whet his appetite.
Is Baldur the little brother or the big brother, like in actual lore?
Little, I think.
Little brother, okay.
Little brother to Thor.
Yes, that's what I mean.
I generally consider Loki to be the youngest. I don't know if that's strictly accurate, but it's accurate in my heart.
Okay. So, in your heart, Baldur is the middle brother?
Well, maybe not the middleist brother. Because there are other brothers.
Yeah, I knew there are other ones, I just don't know anything about them.
Well, yeah, because they don't really come up ever.
Do they ever come up in Marvel Comics, like, later? Like Baldur becomes?
Well, yes, Tyr does. I'm actually not sure if Tyr is Odin's son in the mythology, but he is in the comics.
I know Tyr exists.
He does exist. Also, there's, it starts with an H. He's like Norse Hermes, basically.
Okay.
And I think he appears, like, once in a side comic. And then not ever again, otherwise. And then there's...
Odin clearly has favorites.
Yeah, and then there's one named Vidar, who is actually
I've heard of Vidar.
Very, very important in the mythology, but never appears in the comics.
You've mentioned Vidar to me before,
I'm absolutely positive I have.
Okay, because I know I've heard the name.
Vidar's whole thing is that at Ragnarok, he will avenge Odin's death, and also he has a shoe that is stronger than all the other shoes.
Wow. Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah, so that's Vidar. Everybody give it up for Vidar.
Woo, Vidar!
Also, he's the silent god, so he doesn't talk.
The Black Bolt of Gods.
Yeah, with a really cool shoe.
With a really cool shoe. What if it was like a high heel?
Yeah. So...
Vidar shows up with the Gucci pumps. The Louboutins. What the fuck is the name of the fucking shoe?
Jimmy Choo's.
No. The one with the Louboutins.
The Louboutins, okay.
Vidar shows up with the Louboutins.
Okay. Anyway, back to the comic in front of us.
Not Norse mythology and definitely not shoes.
We're getting a little bit distracted this time. That's okay. We only have 2 issues, so it doesn't really matter.
It's fine.
Balder doesn't really appreciate Ulik's smack talk and delivers a mighty blow in response.
And looks like Ulik pulls some bullshit pushing up on his chin. That's some shit. Bad sportsmanship.
Ulik seems pretty rattled, but keeps on with the bravado, because what else is he gonna do?
Ulik's got a nicer head of hair than I remember.
Yeah, he's always had a full head of hair.
Well, yeah, but it looks really nice and soft here in this panel.
Yeah, Jake made it look pretty silky. Before Thor can make good his trip back to Asgard, the cops run up, asking what happened, as if they weren't all dealing with the wrecker like 10 minutes ago.
Thor's face looks too small for his head here.
Yeah, a little bit. Thor wonders how he can make them understand, but ultimately decides to not try. He tells
just let him arrest the destroyer. Who fucking cares?
He tells the cops that the destroyer isn't in danger until it starts moving, which, like, you could say about anything, basically. And also tells them to transport it to a secure location and await instructions from Asgard.
I don't think that's how the cops work.
I don't know why these cops aren't getting sucked into the armor.
Good point. I also don't know why Thor thinks that the cops answer to fucking Asgard.
I mean, would you argue with Asgard, though?
Well, I'm pretty fighty, so probably.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why the cops getting close, and Thor for that matter, getting close to the destroyer doesn't suck one of them into it.
Maybe you have to want to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because that seems consistent with what we've seen so far.
That is what I was thinking. So the cops oblige, because how are you going to question Thor? Although they do mention that they're taking it back to the precinct, which doesn't seem like the best idea.
It seems like a better idea than leaving it in the middle of the street of New York.
That's true.
So I'd say let them go about their business
True.
here.
Thor is about to figure out what to do next when he's suddenly engulfed by a blinding light and a sound like a thunderclap.
But also a straw.
Yeah.
Or one of those fucking bank tubes where like... Fierce check.
The pneumatic tubes. He shoots across space until he arrives before Karnilla, the Norn queen herself.
She can do that?
Yeah.
Cool.
She's magic.
Magic means you can do fucking anything.
True. Karnilla summoned Thor here because Balder can't beat Ulik alone and refuses to let Sif help because she's a girl.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Balder. Stop making me dislike you. You're my favorite.
Thor takes a moment to embrace Sif as he realizes the general idea of what has happened. Karnilla had been hoisted by her own petard and now needs saving. Maybe so, but she's quick to remind him that Ulik is a serious threat that needs to be dealt with. Thor tags Balder out without further explanation. Ulik is delighted by this, since Thor is who he wanted in the first place, but...
Yeah, he wanted to throw down.
He did. But Thor immediately breaks his mace and renders him empty-handed.
Yeah, I guess you fucked around and found out, huh?
I don't know what happened to his metal pounders, but I miss them.
Oh, his pounders are gone.
They're not here. Why does he have this stupid mace now?
How can he pound now?
That's dumb. Thor decides that since Ulik is unarmed, he should be too, which is really just a cool and honorable move.
It's really chill of him. He's in this other realm now. He doesn't have to worry about turning back into Dawn, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's tucked into his belt, though.
Okay.
And that's never counted as him losing it before.
Fair enough.
Ulik asserts that Thor's strength is in his hammer, while Ulik is more used to fighting with his fists, and therefore he can't hope to win.
He's also wrong.
Thor quickly proves him wrong, while giving some atrocious smack talk. Behold then, bestial one, thinkest thou the arm of Thor be not thine equal? Then thou thinkest true, the equal of Ulik Thor is not. Verily in every way I be thy better.
Oh, this is some good shit, you're right. For I be Asgardian born, sired by him who is the power and the wrath. We have seen Odin be the wrath before.
We have. Ulik punches Thor in the ears.
And Ulik the troll is lowly born, with naught to lose and a world to gain.
That's, pretty good answer. Ulik rips a stalagmite off the ground, because we're still in a cave, if you recall.
Yep. Stalactite stays tight to the ceiling. Stalagmite, Ulik's
might be a stalactite.
No. Might be a stalagmite.
Okay.
My friend.
I see.
Stalactite ceiling.
Okay.
Stalagmite floor.
I see. And uses it as a weapon, which seems contrary to what he said earlier.
But also proves stalagmite right.
Thor calls him out on this, and Ulik is like, yeah, so? So in case you were wondering, the cops did indeed take the destroyer back to the precinct, and have dropped it in some nondescript back room.
This is fucking Odin, isn't it?
One guy wonders aloud what Thor meant when he said a decision would come from Asgard, to which the other guy says, Asgard my foot, it's probably a suburb of Hoboken.
Ha 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 ha!
The captain orders them back on duty and says that an official from the museum is coming to look over their friend.
Why?
That wasn't...
Which museum?
The museum. Maybe the one that the Circus of Crime was trying to rob before. That wasn't part of the deal. I don't think that would go over well with Thor, who asked you to just hold it for him.
No. I mean, he wouldn't be that upset because it's the 60s and we just gotta make sure that we point out how much we love the authorities, but...
Well, someone does indeed arrive.
This is Odin.
Announcing
I'm calling
themselves
it now.
very
this
loudly.
Is fucking Odin.
It's Odin in a suit and hat.
I'm fucking right. Thank you for not sitting here trying to pull me on one.
No, I mean, it's very reminiscent of Loki from a couple issues ago.
I definitely understand what you were talking about when you said Charles Xavier pulling out that shit was an Odin move. I see it now.
Yeah. They immediately assumed that he came from the museum because he tells them to be silent, basically.
That's how that works.
Yeah, and the cops show him into where the destroyer is. He then orders them all to leave the room. They oblige, but a few seconds later they receive a call from the museum. Their guy is running a little late, they say. But who did they just show in? The cops ask.
Why is this guy still wearing his coat inside?
I don't know. It's part of his look.
The rest of the cops are just hanging out in their cop uniforms. Yeah. So this guy's still got his overcoat on.
I don't know. He's cold.
They keep the AC too fucking cold in this place.
I know.
I feel you, bro.
They all storm back into the room, guns drawn, only to find it empty, with no trace of either Odin or the destroyer.
You said it was Sam on lettering? Because I really like this lettering here.
Yeah.
It's nice and bold.
Mm-hmm. You may be wondering at this point, wasn't Loki here? I could swear Loki was involved.
I thought we saw Loki earlier, just like hanging out in the background.
I don't think so. We saw him on the cover.
See, I want to double check this shit. I'm fact checking you right now.
Okay, feel free.
Loki, I am wrong. I did my fact check, and Loki only showed up, I guess, on the cover. I don't remember if Loki was for sure on the cover, but I believe that Loki was.
They were.
Okay. Well, Loki's here now.
Loki is here now. In fact, watching from a discreet distance behind cover. As Ulik slashes his kinda sharp rock across Thor's arm, Loki waits in anticipation for the final blow.
Also talking about some bullshit about, like, the mist just portents that this is some fated shit that Thor's gonna fucking fall and Loki will win.
Yeah, blah 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 blah. Doesn't matter. Ulik declares that he's going to kill Thor now, as if he expects Thor to sit still and allow him to do that. Thor doesn't, actually.
Wow.
And instead lashes out a blow before once again shattering Ulik's weapon. Clutching his hand that's probably full of stone splinters now, Ulik kicks Thor back, screaming that he has to win.
See, I don't know that it would bother Ulik that much having a fistful of stones, though, right? Like, trolls have thick skin, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably fine.
He is clutching his hand, though.
Well, I think he's clutching it like two hands together, like he was trying to use it as... No. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
I'm just reporting what's on the page, man.
You're correct.
He staggers Thor and throws him backward, which has the convenient effect of jostling Mjolnir loose from his belt. As Loki watches from nearby, he notes this fortuitous event and thinks that he must act fast. Thor jumps back up, feeling, if anything, a little bit peeved about this whole fight. He swings wide and accidentally causes a small rock slide, somehow, which throws Ulik into the bottomless abyss of shadow. Whatever the fuck, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, I just don't know. Thor feels a little sheepish that he's let his temper get the better of him, but his friends quickly appear to hype him up. He embraces Sif once more before grabbing Mjolnir to pledge something or other. But wait! Mjolnir is gone! Thor declares that only Loki could have taken it.
Did Loki make it invisible?
And that's the end of the issue.
Did Loki make it invisible?
I'm not going to tell you.
Is it Black Bolt time? No, it's not Black Bolt time, it's Triton time!
While the city shrieks! That's the sound the city makes.
Last time on Inhumans, I'm ignoring whatever happened with Black Bolt. No, I can't ignore what happened with Black Bolt. There was some shit. Okay, picking up where we left off, I guess I have to cover the Black Bolt shit before I can come to whatever is important to hear.
What did we learn about Black Bolt last time?
Black Bolt's a cousin fucker. That's what we learned about Black Bolt.
Yeah, we sure did.
Apparently, Black Bolt's dad, king, parent of Black Bolt, Aegon, I think might have been his name.
I don't know.
Black Bolt's daddy, said that Black Bolt, now at 19, was old enough to no longer be kept in a soundproof room. You can come out and see your family, including Medusa, future spouse, and cousin of King Black Bolt. What's his name? Maximus,
his brother.
Maximus, his evil brother, showed up and shot him with a taser. And Black Bolt flew around, but was okay, but was also very sad that Black Bolt could not speak. Mr. Blackagar Boltagon could speak no more for the rest of his life, and Medusa, somewhere in there, snatched Crystal away from Maximus.
Because Maximus had Crystal.
Maximus had Crystal, who was there, which we never mentioned, and then the rest of the family, what's the fucking horse hooves bitch? Gorgon and Karnak fucking beat on Maximus, and then everything was fine. And then we moved on to Triton, who was underwater when he ran into a film crew who tried to capture him and put him on exhibition, and then he broke out like, I'm gonna be back to see the thirst shit, though. And now we open on Triton, right fresh out of the water, this fish dude, while some dock workers gossip about Triton and the previous incident. So I guess Triton decided that he was going to check this out before he went home, though I thought he was going home before.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I guess he turned around. He's here to check this shit out. He shows up and surprises the hell out of the dock workers, who just fucking bolt off, assumedly into traffic, which Triton soon
They
also
Boltagon
reaches.
off.
They do not. Boltagoning off is much more destructive than that.
I hate that Triton has fish eyebrows.
Oh, God.
Like, what is that?
I didn't even know. No.
It's real bad.
No. We don't like that.
It's a bad look.
Indeed. Oh, God. Triton considers traffic because he just walks out into traffic and he's like, the humans are attacking me again.
Oh, my God.
Well, he beats a car's ass to show his dominance, I guess. And everybody's just kind of watching this happen, and Triton's like, I must return to the sea.
Into the ocean and it all.
It's like, but there are people following me, so I'm gonna break into this store. And
I don't know, Triton. I feel like if you return to the sea, that would pretty much cover your pursuers.
Right, but it wasn't working, I guess, so he pulls a sewer grate off and I guess jumps into the storm sewer?
Yeah.
That's the best I can understand. There's a water conduit below, but I feel like that's not right. I think he just jumped into the sewer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he thinks the humans are not very cool, and then he swims back to Adelan and is like, yo, so it's not gonna be cool if they find us because they're hateful jerks who tried to attack me. And then, I guess, Black Bolt flies off. I'm not sure why.
He's gonna do something.
Right. He is talking about we're too dangerous, we need to create a safer refuge, and Black Bolt apparently agrees and then flies off. I guess he's looking for their new home.
I guess.
And that's what we're going to get to apparently next time, unless it is another time and we are finally freed from the origin story of the cousin fuckers. I already hated the Inhumans, but now they're fucking cousin fuckers.
I know. And they're taking up valuable pages in Thor.
Right. But Dr. Blake can die.
He can. So let's move on to Thor number 153 from April of 1968. Written by Stan Lee. Art by Jack Kirby. Inked by Vince Colletta and lettered by Artie Simek.
Alrighty.
Thor wonders aloud at how Loki could lift his hammer.
Carnilla changed clothes again to this gothy little number.
But Carnilla informs him that they are currently in possession of a portion of her magical powers, as well as their own. I don't know why we haven't touched on this at all yet, but I guess Loki just repeated the ritual from earlier that accidentally empowered the Wrecker, because if you remember, Loki got his powers taken away.
I do remember.
That's what I have to assume. I guess. Must be what happened. Right?
Yeah, I guess. Did Baldur and Sif have their powers returned, or did they just go here to beat ass without that? I don't remember.
They didn't mention it. They got sent back to Asgard, but I mean, I assume that Odin wouldn't have sent them off on this quest without giving them their shit back.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is that it never gets mentioned again.
No, it does not. Apparently, this all makes perfect sense to Thor, who declares that a Carnilla-empowered Loki must be the deadliest foe of all.
Really?
Yeah. Baldur and Sif ask if Thor isn't going to turn mortal soon without his hammer, which sends him into a panic, demanding that Carnilla use her power to send him to wherever Loki is.
I thought that Thor was fine.
I guess we've all forgotten that he doesn't change back when he's on Asgard.
Okay.
And by we, I mean Thor, mostly.
Does Stan remember?
I would assume so.
Okay.
I don't know. We can't ask him, so... Carnilla refuses. Thor helped her, but they're still enemies, and she doesn't really feel like doing him any favors. He dramatically declares that his time is up, and again begs Carnilla to send him to Loki, to which Sif declares that facing Loki in his mortal form would be a death sentence. Carnilla likes that idea, and now acquiesces to send Thor on his way. She also sends Sif because I think she's just sick of her simping.
Yeah, she's annoyed about Sif. Besides, how else can she hit on the hunky man meat that's Baldur?
Yeah, alone with him now.
Yes.
On the streets of New York, a cop stops a pedestrian.
D.B. Cooper?
A cop stops D.B. Cooper and demands to know where he came from. The man refuses to answer, to which the cop says, "Okay, fine, but what's in that package you're holding? There's been a lot of robberies in this area." As if a robber would just walk around in broad daylight with stolen goods conspicuously wrapped in packing paper. The man, Loki in case you didn't guess, thinks this is funny and unwraps his package, proffering the hammer's handle to the police officer. They warn him not to try to lift it, even as the cop grabs it to get a better look. Once out of Loki's hands, it immediately slams to the ground, immovable. Loki picks it up, looking quite pleased over this little joke. Until both of them are shocked by the hammer suddenly changing to a simple walking stick. The cop decides now that Loki must be some street performer and waves them off, losing interest. Loki, however, knows that the transformation must mean that Thor has reverted back to mortal form.
Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay. Stan has also forgotten that Thor should not be turning back to dawn on Asgard.
Honestly, I'm not sure if that's it, or if it's literally that Thor had, like, such a big himbo panic moment that he forgot about it. Because he didn't turn to Don until he was on Earth.
You know, good point. Also, well, was he technically on Asgard or was he somewhere else?
It counts as Asgard.
Okay.
Asgard, for the sake of the comics, is not just the city, but also
all the other realms.
All the other realms and outlying areas.
Yeah.
Indeed, as they peer just around the corner, they see Donald Blake arriving in the company of Sif. Loki decides now is the perfect time to fight their brother, when they are extra powered and Thor is completely defenseless.
I feel like that wouldn't be satisfying.
Well, it's irresistible, like when you're holding an empty wrapping paper tube.
You know? Fair. The Kane impulse
The
is
Kane
strong.
impulse. Loki invented the Kane impulse. They drop their earthly guise and spring around the corner, taunting Thor/Dawn with the cane. Sif surges forward, prepared to defend her beloved. Dawn calls to Sif to fall back because God forbid we should let the lady do her thing. I find it really annoying that Stan made her a fucking warrior goddess and then constantly is having people tell her not to fight.
Right, it's really annoying that we had this episode, both Balder and Thor pulling this shit.
I know. It's obnoxious.
Maybe we can blame this on Odin's child rearing.
Mm-hmm. I think we can. Loki fends her off.
Oh.
Yeah? Are you good?
Those fucking that fucking angle on the horns is a lot.
It is. Loki fends her off near effortlessly before grabbing her and taking her hostage.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
I mean, to be fair, he's extra powered right now,
That's true.
Don is taking off his coat, ready to fucking rumble, but Loki throws Sif at him before he can do anything. They then blast her right in front of him, and Don is helpless to do anything about it.
Sif can teleport.
Yeah. This is the last straw for Don. He charges Loki with only his own shedded coat in hand, declaring, "I'd attack you with my bare hands if I had to crawl over hot coals."
That's intense and good for Don.
Which is pretty fucking metal.
Yeah.
But scoring a blow isn't really his goal. Instead, he wraps the coat around Loki's hand, which is holding the cane.
Right, he wants the hammer.
Mm-hmm. Loki realizes this a moment too late, probably because he was reeling from how cool that line was a couple panels ago.
I said Don puts all his weak weight on the end of his arm and just makes him drop it.
Right. Using the coat as leverage, Don yanks the cane from Loki's grip and reclaims it once more. Loki lashes out at a nearby wall in frustration, even as Don taps the stick on a building behind him and transforms once more into the mighty Thor.
Yeah.
Loki is still posturing about how they have the Norn Queen's powers, but Thor's mad and not prepared to let them use it.
Again, I'm still caught up on the whole why does Loki have the Norn Queen's powers thing.
Like I said, it must have
just happened off panel.
Yeah. Loki starts to cast a ray of dissolvement, which sounds insane, but we don't get to see what it does because Thor quickly silences them with a blow to the stomach.
Typical older brother.
Thrown backwards and now laying on the pavement, Loki desperately grabs a car and tries to hit Thor with it, but we all know damn well this won't work. Thor
he hits the car so hard the wheel pops off.
Yeah. Thor easily crushes the car. But in the meantime, Loki has gotten up and grabbed a sign that says safety zone on it. Loki claims that this was some kind of ruse, but I don't really get what they mean, since they were very visibly grabbing the sign. Like it wasn't a secret or anything.
Well, maybe he figured that the sign was kind of hidden behind his body.
Maybe, I
Thor
guess.
didn't realize he had it.
Maybe. Thor isn't tricked at all, anyway. Probably because he clearly saw that happening. And instead uses Loki's own makeshift weapon to push them back before quickly bending it around to tie them up.
Sibling energy.
Yeah.
I used to tie a bunch of ties and shit to my sister's bedroom door handle and, like, tie her in her bedroom when she was being fucking annoying. It'd be, like, shoelaces and shit strung over the hall trying to tie her fucking door closed.
Listeners, I bet you can't guess which of them was the older one. Not blindingly obvious at all. Thor rushes back to Sif's side, where a nearby beat cop, maybe the one from earlier,
still got that coat on, could be,
has apparently happened upon her slumped body and is surveying the situation. He's not surprised to find that she's involved with him somehow, given her dress, and reports that the situation is bad. She's not doing well, and the only doctor nearby is out on a house call.
Well, little does he know.
Yeah. Thor orders the cop to get thee to a payphone and summon yon ambulance. Once the cop is safely out of sight, Thor stamps his hammer on the ground and turns back into Donald Blake, determined to save his lady love. Baldur and Karnilla now stand alone together overlooking the pit where Ulik fell. Baldur says that he knows Karnilla only sent Thor after Loki, hoping that he would die, which isn't very impressive because she literally said that's what she was doing. Even so, he can't bring himself to draw his blade on a woman because chivalry or something, I guess.
Against a fair maiden, m'lady!
Karnilla is slightly regretful, but only because she likes Baldur and her actions have made him despise her even more than he already did.
Girl, you're just heading in all the wrong angles. I know you love this fool, but, take a minute to consider what he's into and how you're acting.
Honestly. She quickly changes the subject to Ulik, doomed to fall forever into this bottomless pit, apparently. Let's fact-check that. We see that Ulik is indeed falling down a seemingly bottomless pit. However, it's a pretty narrow pit, and as Ulik is a beefy boy, he's able to work up his energy and grab onto the side of the rocks, halting his momentum without pulling his arms out of socket.
Excellent.
Which is convenient. Below him...
He's pretty beefy.
He is.
He's got some muscular support behind that move.
Yes, exactly. Below him, the walls of the pit become smooth as glass, and he reflects that if he hadn't done so now, he wouldn't have had another chance.
I wonder why it wasn't just glass immediately.
Right? Because it's more convenient now.
Yeah.
Makes it more dramatic, I guess.
Storytelling.
But he hasn't just grabbed the sheer edge of the hole. Apparently, he's clinging to a small ledge, and as he pulls himself up, he finds that beyond the ledge is a cave filled with glowing rocks.
Blinding light, revved up like a deuce, another roamer in the night.
He wonders aloud what the fuck this is, and Stan assures us that both he and we will have an answer eventually, but not now.
One day when he decides what it is.
Right, exactly. Now it's time to return to Earth, where Don and Sif have both been transported to a hospital. The former prepares for surgery as the latter lays comatose, stricken by Loki's Norn blast from earlier.
I like that this hospital's default choice of scrubs is fucking neon green.
I know. It's a look. The former, as in Don...
I guess he must have operating privileges here at this hospital, because I thought he just had a private practice.
Well, the thing about Don is he's a very, very good surgeon.
Yeah.
And in the Marvel Universe, he's actually kind of famous for how good he is.
Okay, cool.
So...
Because we haven't really seen that. I mean, we've seen that he's a good doctor.
Right. I think this is the first time that they're really bringing up this, that he's a surgeon and that he's a really good surgeon.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously the fact is that Stan just didn't think about it, but it's nice to think that Don is just so good that they just let him do it.
Yeah. Oh shit, the Don Blake wants to perform surgery here?
How prestigious.
Be a nice little accolade on the hospital.
The other doctors and nurses have no idea what's wrong with Sif because her malady is magical in nature. Only with Thor's Asgardian knowledge in his head can Don have any hope of saving her. At this moment, across town, Loki busts out of the binding that Thor had apparently left them in.
Because it was stupid.
I realize there's a lot going on right now, but I feel like Thor should have done something to secure them better than bending a signpost around them.
Agreed.
Surely Loki could have broken out of this sooner.
Yeah, I like Don's thought, sooner or later Loki will free himself. You mean as soon as he fucking flexes? Because it's a fucking signpost and he's 700 fucking pounds or some shit.
Yeah, surely Loki could have broken out of this sooner. Why did they wait? Were they just standing around until now?
I think they were just waiting until the coast was clear.
I guess.
Because you want to have the upper hand when you come back at him.
True. Loki makes himself invisible and stalks out among the citizens of New York City.
Why, when you could just be DB Cooper again? It was working pretty well for you before.
Yeah. He finds the same fucking cop from earlier and is able to read his mind to find where Thor/Don went.
He's a telepath when he wants to be.
Yes. Loki is a telepath when convenient.
I don't remember Loki flying before. Is that a new thing?
It sure is.
This is an excellent face. We haven't mentioned it, but this
good.
Lower left-hand face.
I love that, but I also love this flying panel where he just shoots straight up into the sky.
Poochie died on the way back to his home planet.
Proclaiming that their long-awaited victory is near, they shoot off into the sky somehow.
Maybe he got run into by Unis and the Blob and just
Fucking collision physics. They arrive at the hospital shortly, and are excited to see Don in the midst of surgery, pretty much helpless to stop their attack. They climb in through the window and announce that they're not invisible anymore, which conveniently alerts Don to the situation.
Idiot.
Unable to stop what he's doing, Don thinks quickly and orders someone named either Carson or Carlson to hit Loki with the emergency tank. He says both.
Hit him with the emergency... What the fuck is the emergency tank? Because the image that it summons to me is a fucking tank, but, like, clearly you don't have a tank in an operating room, so he just grabs a tank of something, but what is in it that makes it an emergency tank?
Well,
is it an oxygen tank?
Well, here's the thing. That's kind of the point.
Okay.
He hopes...
Who has ether in the fucking 60s?
Shush. He hopes that Carson or Carlson understands because he doesn't want to say what it actually is and give Loki time to prepare defense.
Unlike some people who just announce what they're doing.
Carson or Carlson does indeed get the idea and opens up a container of ether right in Loki's face.
Who has fucking ether? It's the 60s. You have better than ether. You have fucking morphine.
This gives Don the few moments he needs to complete the operation
ether.
Before ordering everyone else out of the room so he can deal with the costume nutjob who just broke into the hospital.
Well, I'm sure that they're all like, okay, that's fine. Dr. Don has this in hand.
Here's the thing. One of the nurses is loath to leave Dr. Blake alone with the intruder, but the others seem to have some ideas and suspicions of their own.
Okay.
One of them says Don is no fool, while another says that Blake will know how to handle him. And a third guy insists that no matter what you hear or see, don't enter this room for the next 5 minutes.
I like this, because these guys are smart enough to be doctors if they're his colleagues that they've kind of caught on.
Right? Don is a very good surgeon, and he's extremely well known. And based on this panel, I like to think that almost everyone he works with already knows or suspects that he's Thor.
Yeah.
Which actually retroactively makes sense of some things.
It kind of does work. I mean, the cops caught on to the fact that Don and Thor have something to do with each other. These are people who have been to school for years.
A ridiculous amount of time.
Close to a decade by the time they've exited, like, their residency and all their internship and all that shit. So, they're smart folks.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this idea.
I also think this retroactively makes sense of some things that we didn't get before. Like how Don can unexpectedly leave and have his work taken care of by a colleague.
He went down to Central America with a bunch of other doctors, right?
Yeah.
And then disappeared, Thor beat some ass, and then Dr. Don was back.
Yes.
Which is fairly conspicuous. There have been other fairly conspicuous moments of this, so yeah, I'm into this. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I like it a lot, honestly. After everyone is gone, Don transforms, and after a short moment of banter, Thor grabs Loki and launches them both out the window so that they're not fighting in a fucking hospital. He slams Loki against a building on the other side of the road before the two start fighting in earnest. They exchange a few blows, the whole time arguing like a couple of children.
Of course.
Right?
It's how you fight with your sibling. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Before Loki reaches out and covers Thor in a thick layer of creeping frost. Thor is barely staggered and only continues to grapple Loki.
I think Loki should be able to do that even normally.
I do too.
all things considered.
Because they're a frost giant.
Exactly.
In the Palace of Asgard, a voice cries out, "Enough!" Odin is tired of watching the kids duke it out. And besides, there's a greater threat coming that he's going to need all of his support
it's that
for.
Fucking hat. That's the fucking threat.
Yes, it's pretty bad. Because, of course, there is something coming, obviously. There's always something coming.
There's always something.
Back on Earth, Dad breaks up the fight with a thunderous bolt of the Odin force.
He gives him an old Odin bolt.
Mm-hmm. Thor pleads with him to not interfere before Loki faces justice. But Odin is not to be bargained with, and simply orders them both to cut it the fuck out.
While also saying, he deserves justice to my parent about the other sibling. It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, okay, both of you shut the fuck up, you're both grounded.
Yeah.
Go sit in timeout, the both of you, on opposite sides of the house. I'm not calling who won this. If he was a good parent, who Odin is fucking not.
He's not.
He has a clear favorite,
Yeah.
but still. Thor
and Loki exchange some last threats before Loki T-poses away in true younger sibling fashion.
This next you gotta start fucking flossing.
Now alone, Thor reflects on Sif's condition as well as the trouble he's sure he sensed in Odin's voice. He declares that whatever may come, he will deal with it before taking off into the skies.
Excellent.
Next, that which Odin fears.
Next, the real star of the show. Oh, there's no real
There's
star
nothing.
of the show. Yes!
It was a full 20 pages.
The Rus. I have been gotten by the Rus.
We don't get to learn what's going on with the Inhumans.
God damn it. I was really looking forward to that. I was getting so into that.
We do have, however, another segment.
Indeed. So, remember the whole comics code thing? We are back at it again.
In the Krispy Kreme.
And in the Krispy Kreme. So, this isn't all that relevant to what we've been talking about this issue. This is more relevant to the march of time with the X-Men, which has grown ever faster as they have been on hiatus. There's not been a regular monthly title. So we have hit 1971.
We're in 1968 with Thor, though, so we're not that far.
You're not that far behind. So you may have noticed that I mentioned that one of the creators on the last episodes is really known for their work on the horror aspects. So in the 70s, there were a couple different trends that popped up. Some of them were tied in with cultural trends, like there was the blaxploitation trend, which pumped out Luke Cage. There was a real kung fu thing from which we got Iron Fist, and I think Shang-Chi probably came out around that era too, if I'm not mistaken. Not 100% sure on that, don't quote me. But also really big was a boom of horror characters, which comes after the 1971 revision, which, if you may recall, the earlier comics code, you were not allowed to depict horror shit. The 1971 revision continued to ban depictions of excessive violence, lewd, unsavory, gruesome illustrations, so we still can't get too carried away with the horror. You still can't say it's horror or terror in the title, but you start to see people pop up like, oh, what's his name? Werewolf by Night, Jack Russell, who else? Man-Thing. There's more of them too. Frankenstein, I think, as a... Dracula, we'll get around to Dracula, I promise you that, with the X-Men comics. We'll get to fucking Dracula.
We're also gonna get to Dracula with Thor comics.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's like, I don't enjoy that, so it's more of a threat. But also a promise.
Well, the Thor comics with Dracula are hilarious, so... Excellent.
Well, yeah, so we've got that. Can't depict sex perversion or sexual abnormaltism, which, means queer folk, BDSM. Mr. Claremont doesn't pay much attention to the 1971 revision of the Comics Code. Illicit sexual relations, which I think still means you can't show sex. It says you can't hint at it, but that's not accurate to what you actually read in the comics. Yeah. There are hints, like Mary Jane closing the door, like, there are hints of some shit going on, and as with every age, as you get further and further, they enforce less and less.
You can feel the grip loosening.
Yes, exactly. There are hints later in the Comics Code thing that not only are MJ and Peter sexually involved, there's some kinky shit going on.
I'm sorry, this says that they didn't allow women with exaggerated proportions, which they definitely were not following that rule
yeah.
from the fucking beginning.
Exaggerated has to be in huge air quotes, like, you can't make them not only have that skinny waist, but, like, Dolly Parton titties.
Right.
Zombies, still not allowed. They still call them fucking Zuvembis in Marvel for a while. I think that's what it is. There's other shit that is like, follow the spirit of the law rather than the letter, thank you very much. There are fucking loopholes, don't take them.
Restricted the use of the word crime. Passionate scenes stimulating lower and baser emotions.
Which in my notes, like, don't be horny on main.
Sympathetic depiction of criminal behavior. Disrespectful representations of police, judges, government officials, and respected institutions.
Like we were saying, like we were pointing out earlier with the fucking cops, but also, like, remember what we were talking about in Spider-Man, where it had to be clear that this corrupt politician was also, like, tied in with the mob and shit. Things like that. Say, you can't even hint at sex, and then they're like, depictions of seduction can be implied, but not portrayed. It's like, you're really kind of on the fence there. So, horror monsters are okay, but only if they're in the classic literary sense. Like, where you see with a lot of the horror characters, they are like, okay, well, it's actually Frankenstein. It's actually Dracula.
Right.
So that's what's up with that. Good still has to win at the end of the day. Criminals must be punished for their deeds. Love stories must emphasize the sanctity of marriage.
God.
But, like, additionally with that, right before the code here, there was a 3-part story handling Harry Osborn's drug addiction, which the Comics Code Association actually would not put their stamp on, but the government actually appreciated it because we were midway through we were starting to really kick into the war on drugs at this point. Harry had, like, prescription pill shit going on.
Right.
But, so it was a big deal, but Stan was like, nah, this is a good deal and I'm doing this thing. This is the right thing to do. Which, it's not a bad storyline, actually. It's not poorly handled. But the government's interest in this is questionable.
No, that's where I was coming from. Like, I'm sure it's fine, the comic itself, but...
Yeah, it's very good. But, so, that's part of why, along with a couple other stories, I think there was a Green Arrow story, I'm not sure if it's Green Arrow or Green Lantern, that also had to do with, drug addiction and shit, and they're finally like, okay, we're gonna back off on this, so long as it's clear that being an addict, that drug addiction is a bad thing.
Right.
And then, after this, there are some other lesser revisions of the Comics Code, but as the Comics Code goes on in time, it really becomes less and less influential. There was one more big revision, but it really didn't change anything all that big. It loosened things up even further, and there was... In 2001, Marvel stopped bothering with the CCA altogether after an issue of X-Force was refused, and they're just like, fuck it, and made their own rating system. So, as of 2011, all other participating publishers have pulled out. The Comics Code Association is dead. Rest in shit.
And we dance on its corpse.
Exactly. There we are, finally done with the Comics Code. I mean, we're not done. We're
technically
still
now
suffering under its reign for quite a while, but
yeah.
As of now, we're cool.
We don't have to talk about it anymore.
Exactly.
We might still, if it comes up in anything in particular.
Right, if there's something where it's particularly clear that we are stepping around the Comics Code. But anyway, that's going to be it for us this week. As usual, we're going to run through our stuff. Email us over at comicsplaining@gmail.com. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll probably even read it on air. Hit us up over on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. Comicsplaining in all those locations. We have a Patreon. Patrons, even at the lowest tier, get access to the show a day early. There are all kinds of outtakes for higher tiers, and Beyond that, we'll see what we can come up with. You'll get your reward. But we also have a coffee if you want to donate to the show just once, that's fine. We would very much appreciate that because bandwidth costs.
You know what? I know, sorry I'm interrupting, but you know what would be really great is if you like this podcast and you listen to it, if you could please
tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Or share around one of our promos. We post promos on all of our social media every week.
Or rate and review us on your Podchaser or Spotify so we get up there in the algorithm.
I mean, we haven't really... I mean, we always go through, like, the stuff at the end of every episode, but we haven't recently actually stopped to emphasize how important this is to us. Like...
Yeah, we are in the red every month on this. This is an enterprise that we just pay for.
I mean, it's a passion project at this point.
Exactly.
So, you know, if you can help us get the word out there, help spread it around, that would be very, very much appreciated. We would sing your praises. Literally, we would talk about you on the show.
Like our one and only great patron, Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much forever and eternally.
We love you, Robin.
We love you, Robin. Another thing you can do, which actually is awesome for you too, is we have a video version of the show over on YouTube, which shows clips of the stuff we're talking about as we're talking about it. Watch us over there, like and subscribe, and press that bell button again, because we are at the mercy of the fucking algorithm and we have no friends.
Yeah.
No important friends. I mean, that also sounds bad. No friends important to the rest of the world. They're all dear to us.
Right.
They're not, like, famous or big or have a following or anything.
Exactly.
So, thank you very much. We would appreciate that. But, hey, if you can't, just listen. That still brings the warm fuzzies to my heart.
It really does.
Join us over on our Discord if you want to chat, because again, that also gives me the warm fuzzies every time someone talks to us over there, which we only had the one person that we don't know, but even if it's my friends, I'm so happy to talk there. Anyway, we're going to be back next week with the X-Men, continuing the adventures of the Beast, and we look forward to talking to you then. Bye!
Bye!